Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of the Stat Check Mind Goblins crossover. I am joined by Kyle, Commander Puretide Grundy of the Mind Goblins. We were recently at the German Super Major together, so I figured I would manage to kill two birds in one stone, have a good friend of mine on, do the Mind Goblin stuff, combine it all into one episode, and also get some of that good Tau content as we move into a world where Tau have been meaningfully side graded. Kyle, how you doing? Tell everyone about yourself and why you're here.
Yeah, not bad. Thanks for having me on. So, I'm Kyle Grundy, Commander Puretide. I run the Puretide program, which is essentially a lovely place where you can join for all your greater good needs. You get coaching from me. Somewhat, let's say, direction is needed, especially with Tau being a bit trash in the past, and now we're back on the cards, in my honest opinion. So if you're interested in that, I've got a YouTube channel, like, subscribe, do all that jazz. And if you want to join the Discord, the links are in the description on my YouTube videos. So I'll be happy to have you. And that's pretty much my little spiel.
For sure. Kyle's definitely one of the Tau players of all time, consistently playing them in and out every weekend. Every event I go to, Kyle's there suffering with Tau.
Well, the funniest thing when we're in Germany, it was brought to my attention that I've been playing Tau longer than this team's been alive, which was a fact. So that was a bit weird.
Very nice. Good stuff. And then you're also part of the Mind Goblins, which is why we're here. Obviously, StatCheck and Mind Goblins are working together to bring some content, highlighting some of the best players in the UK and around the world. So how's it been being with Mind Goblins? What's that been like for you? Obviously, you were on the recent winning team for the team event that we spoke about in the last episode.
It's been fantastic. I mean, we originally started when a few of us had left Vanguard Tactics, and seeing that community grow and then suddenly just be an absolute powerhouse of players, but not just like ability, just top-notch guys that are all in it for the love of the community in the game. And we just happen to be actually smashing it right now. So it's really good to be part of a like-minded community that's competitive but also loves the game. So hats off to the Mind Goblin boys. They're just growing and growing and growing, and we're smashing face currently, and we intend to carry on doing so.
Hell yeah, man. It's been awesome seeing you guys continue your growth and development. Obviously, you 10-10'd your way to victory at the ITT last month.
Just steady Eddie. Just telling me, Captain tells me to do stuff.
Getting a 10 on a team tournament is one of the tried and true traditions. It's personally my favorite role to do on a team. I never get to do it anymore. But being able to sit there and be like, my job is to make sure you don't win. I don't care if I win, you don't get to.
I love man. I just turned around like, Jack, shall I push? He was like, do you need to? What does it gain you? I was like, probably not. He's like, well, don't. I'm like going, all right, cool, I'll do that then.
Very fair. So I would usually ask the question to the people in this position, hey, what draws you to Tau? I don't care what draws you to Tau, Kyle. You got drawn to Tau 25 years ago, and in something that's been lost to time immemorial. That's why. So why Ret Cadre? What makes you excited about Ret Cadre? Why was it Ret Cadre for the German Super Major?
So I think it's definitely high skill cap. And as much as I've played Tau, like you said, for a long time, I like having lots of tools at my disposal, and I like to control tempo and the pace of the game. So when I look at all the detachments, Retaliation offers me exactly that. It's an army-wide rule that sticks in throughout the entire game. I've got access to things like 6-inch deep strike and unholy amount of firepower with crisis suits and combinations with commanders, and some really good stratagems to deal with a couple of unique problems, whether it be a horde. I've got access to sustain hits 1/2, and with the Aracon protocol strat, I've got +1 strength and +1 AP, +1 strength within 12, +1 AP within 9 for army-wide for battle suits, which is great. And so it's just got all the little tools that I like, and obviously Fire and Fade is one hell of a drug. And for those of you who have played Tau in the past, we used to have it army-wide, and having the access to that with also the skill expression of knowing when to use Fire and Fade through other means, like charge phase and various things like that, it can be really good in the hands of a skilled general. And obviously, I would hope that I'm skilled enough to play Tau well, as I've been playing it for 25 years, so this detachment really kind of draws me in.
It gives you the most tools to kind of leverage that play pattern difference, right?
Absolutely.
When you're playing with an army that is, and I don't think it's fair to say, one of the weaker armies in the game at this point in the period, right, when we were going to this event, Tau were not performing at like the highest levels in well, which means that you're not going to get by playing the sort of the more stat-checky versions, like the triple hammerhead, triple riptide version that maybe you would have played in the past, where that was a bit more, when the metagame was a little more friendly to that approach. You're kind of pushed into these more, I don't want to say niche, but the more demanding play patterns in order to get the most out of the tools that the army does have available. Your job is now to utilize them as well as you can, because your raw data sheet power isn't necessarily going to get you over the line, right?
Yeah, and I also think the evolution of me just always doing Ret Cadre is because we know UKTC, Firing Lane Central, GW very similar, and a lot of the top players are obviously practicing for WTC, and it's always been a thing of if you want to get the reps into highly skilled players, they're going to be playing on WTC, and therefore the Ret Cad is actually the better thing to take on WTC because they're more dense traditional boards with harder angles to find, and Ret Cad has an answer to that. So
you actually utilize your speed to your advantage on those kind of
right. Yeah. 100%.
All right, let's go through. I'm going to just rattle off your list and we can kind of talk about some of the specifics. I like the list names. So I think everybody in 40K, there are a couple different genres of people. There's the person who's just like, this is the list I'm playing. There's the people who post like a YouTube link and people who post funny jokes. And I like to be the YouTube link or the funny joke guy. Kyle is double broadside Ret Cadre. And I honestly, that speaks to a very much more organized filing system in his GW app than I have.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
I can always tell what my most recent list is for an army because it's the only list for that army. I assume that since you have like 400 Kyle lists in your app, that you need a better categorization system than I have.
Yeah, but then I always mess it up by going version V1, V2, V3, V. I've lost count.
Yeah, see, whereas my most recent list is just like an 8-second YouTube clip, like just a link to that, and it's a man driving into a personal interview just on a bike, and it's just that video, and that's all I want. I want people to know that, or a song, and I think that's a better way to do it, Carl. You can get better organizational systems that way. All right,
well, bear that in mind.
We're playing Retaliation Cadre, as Carl mentioned. Army roll for this one is 9-inch plus 1 AP, 12-inch plus 1 strength. Biggest stratagems being the fire and fade, I think, is the most obvious and most powerful one. But the sustained hits 1, sustained hits 2 against 11 plus models is also incredibly powerful with the specifics of TIE, right? Things like the fire knife suits with their full rerolls.
Yeah.
So we've got Commander Farsight, we've got a Commander in Cold Star with 3 fusions, we've got a Commander in Cold Star with 2 bursts, a cyclic, a high output burst, and the prototype weapon system. What does that one do again, Kyle?
It's basically sustain or lethal every time he's selected to shoot.
So sustained hits most of the time.
Yeah.
We've got a Commander in a Forcer Battlesuit with 3 plasma rifles and the Starflare ignition system, which is the up-down. Powerful little roll. We've got a Commander in Enforcer with 4 missile pods. Very simple guy there.
Yeah.
We've got 2 sets of broadsides with heavy rail rifles. We have got 2 sets of fire knives, one with missile pods, one with plasma rifles. So they're your full reroll suits. We've got 1 unit of Star Scythe. These are your plus 1 AP against non-vehicle monster with burst cannons. We've got 2 units of Sunforge, all with fusions. These are the ones with the 4 vulnerable save that reroll against vehicles. We've got 2 squads of Crew Carnivores for some scoring and some screening. We've got 2 squads of Pathfinders for more of the same. And then we've got the eponymous 3 squads of Stealth Battlesuits. Yeah. So what are the choices in this list? So obviously, this is a very, very suit-heavy list, right? You've got 5 squads of Crisis Suits, 2 squads of Broadsides, and the full set of 5 commanders to go with them. So you're very clearly leaning into the ability to leverage. Like, I think this does that thing where, as you were saying, where you have the ability to use your stratagems very carefully depending on the matchups. You can mix and match which commanders go with what as well to try to give like the right thing for rerolls and things like that. And then you've got the ability to go, okay, this is the unit that's most important in this matchup. That's going to get my resources on fire and fading. That's going to get my resources on sustained hits. It's going to get 6-inch deep struck because this one's the throwaway one that I'm okay screening with, and losing because I don't need a repetitive damage here. There's one thing to solve. Does that seem like it's kind of matching into the way that you want to approach this?
Yeah, you sure you don't play Tau? Because is there anything else I need to say? Yeah, so pretty much, man.
But how? What are the choices? Why are you making those choices? What changes? What makes what? Yeah, that's what the people want to hear. I can tell you the whats. You tell me the whys.
Okay, so the whys is like the one key thing is with the 15 suits. Now I've done lists with more suits, and honestly, I really enjoyed it. But the one thing that I was lacking is that long range anti tank. So the long range allows me to pressure someone from the deployment stage. Without the broadsides, somebody could just go, hey, I'm going to insult you. Here's some Vindicators on the line, and your Sunforge ain't shooting shit because, well, I can screen you out from ever getting to them. So I needed those broadsides to threaten the deployment and threaten stages of the board. So that's their role. 1 on each flank, maybe 1 in reserve, depending on the mission, like search and destroy, and then just go, right, that's their role. Cover those flanks, force trades. I want the broadsides to go in, take the damage, and then force trades so that then my crisis suits can get the pounds on the things that I needed. In terms of the characters, it's nice and simple. Usually is Farsight goes with Sunforge for +1 to wound, which is really nice with Sunforge, especially with the rerunning wounds. The Uppy Downy commander can flex, and I'm glad you made a point on that, is that with the Uppy Downy unit, I can choose and I can select which commanders go with which units depending on the matchup. So, for example, if I went into GSC, I might want to put the Uppy Downy guy on the Star Sights with a burst to follow around whichever threat. So you got to look at your matchup and think, right, okay, cool. What's the plan for these commanders? Where's that commander? Where does that commander need to be for the right target allocation against enemy units? The Cold Star commander with the prototype, it's really nice when you stack the sustain hit strat and you choose lethal, so you have lethal and sustained. So usually that's on the board at the beginning to threaten that kind of early game trading, because I can fire and fade, keep it safe and whatnot. And even if I get tagged, I can still fall back and shoot. And generally, it's all about the wide choices in my screens. I found that the 40 infantry is the perfect sweet spot for Retcad. 2 Pathfinder, one of them has -2 to charge, the other one's infiltration. Pathfinders have Scout 7, so it's really nice utility. And then my Crew screens and my Pathfinder screens are basically just keeping people to the mid-board, which is where my Retaliation Cadre can really deliver the damage. So general kind of battle plan for me is just cover the flanks with broadsides, let my opponent try and screen the board, which I always find quite hilarious because people shit the bed when it comes to 6-inch deep strike. And then when it really gets into the mid-game, as long as they're in their half of the board, they're going to lose the game, because on attrition war, I'll constantly win because of fire and fade. And then if I want to, I can go full-on attack a flank. The interesting one that I've had a lot of success with is the Enforcer with his, nice and simple, 4 missile pods. That unit is a perfect bait to draw out big pieces, because people love to kill crisis suits, right? But what they don't factor in is that if you're shooting the missile unit, I'm going to be having cover, and the Enforcer grants armor of contempt in the ranged against ranged attacks only. So that unit is effectively going to be ignoring cover. It's going to be you're getting cover save and -1 AP.
Yeah, you're sitting on a functional 1+ save on 5 wound models with 36-inch threat range that don't really need to be.
30-inch range for missiles, but they've got the movement as well. So it's like
40-inch threat range. They don't have to be sitting on easy firing lanes, right? If you're only getting 1 Vindicator into them or something like that, maybe you pop 2 suits, but you're not necessarily killing the full squad, right?
Yeah.
That 5 wound breakpoint is a real nightmare for a lot of armies.
Exactly. So generally speaking, it tends to be Sunforge and Reserve. Might have one on the board depending on the opponent's speed. If they're like big monsters or something like Tyrannies, for example, I might want to keep them honest. Broadsides are there, covering firing lanes, and crisis suits drop from the sky and shoot stuff. That's a very simple battle plan, but you need to understand how to control the pace of a game and keep your resources safe as well, because the moment you start to lose those screens unnecessarily, then you're going to struggle. So for me, it's all about tempo control, and this is perfect for it.
Yeah, I think it kind of pans into that thing that you were saying as well, right? Where this is the kind of army that benefits from like a medium set of terrain, right? You need to be having enough terrain that gets you the ability to use your fire and fade meaningfully, right? You need to be able to expose, see something, but also get to safety and know that it's safe. Whereas on some of the lighter board sets, like a WTC light board, you can't necessarily. This army's not one with a ton of staying power to like hold its expansion objective without having the ability to like keep something reserved. So this is very much an army that wants to play on the boards that we play on in singles tournaments, right? Like this is not necessarily as much of a like crushing team event build where you're like, yeah, we first defend this onto a light table. This is going to match up into like Hammer of the Emperor Guard on an empty table. You're going to be like, I'm going to get outshot by that, right? Like I can't get through 40 Death Coated Creek and 3 Rogaldorns. That's not what this list is built for, right? But it's very much a very good adaptation into that singles environment, though, obviously where we're playing. Right?
And I think the other thing as well, the flip side, is that a lot of people focus on the fire and fade defensively. When I talk about controlling the tempo and understanding the board state, for me, I'm like, okay, so my opponents realize that if they sit back, they're going to get absolutely ruined. They're getting aggressive. Well, you know what? I'm going to get aggressive too, because even though I can't hold primaries, neither can my opponent, because when a crisis suit drops down and there's OC8 collectively with the commander, I'm going to shoot you and I'm going to fire and fade onto your expansion and therefore deny you. So let's both play that game, shall we? And I wonder who's going to come out on top.
It also really leads into that like angle play that you can get with Ty, right? Where you 6-inch deep strike that unit in, it shoots something, fire fades onto the objective, move blocks an angle. Now suddenly your broadsides that came out to clip the line on that Vindicator can't get shot back because you're where the Vindicator was. How is it going to like that? How are they getting into that position now? Yeah. It gives you a lot of dimension.
Flip. It's the aggressive flip of actually, even if I'm losing crisis suits, I've had so many opponents be like, there's more. And they're going, yeah. It's like,
ultimately, a crisis unit is 200 points, right? Like plus minus a character and an enhancement. If it dies, it dies, right? It's the same points as the Vindicator that you just killed. And you flip 5 primaries, maybe you scored a card on the way through as well.
Yeah. Star size at 110 points is cash money. It's like, what? Like,
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Very much if you're coming at this from the like the 9th edition approach where you're looking at a crisis suit and you're like, well, that's a 600-point unit, surely. And you're like, no, that's like 10 moves. Like, who cares? It's the same points as your. It's it's cheaper than 5 Deathwing Knights. People throw those away all the time.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. So within that space, then what's not in this list? What when you look at a tile list, for me, immediate things that stand out to me. There's none of the tanks here. No Riptides, no Hammerheads, no Ghost Keels, and no Skyrays. All of which are very efficient street platforms. And definitely like Riptides and Ghost Keels definitely get something out of Red Cadre. There's also no Vespid as like that scoring piece. There's none of the Rampagers for the like the aggressive counter melee piece. What do you find like? What's got you like leaning away from those for this kind of archetype?
So nice and easy. I get this question a lot about Riptides and Ghost Keels specifically because they're fun models, they're great models, and everybody shits the bed going against Riptides and everyone hates Ghost Keels. But I look at it purely from an efficiency point of view, and I think 190 points for Riptide. Well, I'm sorry, but 190 points for Riptide with the 6 iron shots. Yes, the +1 strength, but I have to get close. Yes, I could fire and fade a Riptide. That's quite nice. You know what I could get for 190 points? A Starside team with all the burst and an Enforcer with 4 missile pods. That's exactly 190 points. So, why when I could just take more of this? So that's the reason.
We're not playing in a metagame right now where you expect the Riptide to live, right? That's kind of the difference. So a Riptide's great if it's repetitively firing for 5 turns because it will eventually build up that damage output. But a Riptide's one go. I'm not going to say burst with Tau because that's too many different things. But the one go that you get with a Riptide, then it gets one tapped by a Vindicator with Oath of Moment. You're like, I just wasted a bunch of points on that. At least the Tau, the crisis suits, when they do that, are a much smaller profile, easier to hide, and do more damage on that one shot. Now they're less likely to get a second or a third or a fourth if you're playing them aggressively, but the Riptide is not super likely to survive that aggression right now anyway, right?
Yeah, correct. And I think for me, I looked at like that Riptide. I know what Riptide's great in Kion and Montcar, but they don't really fit my playstyle in Retcad. And also, I'm very much looking at efficiency, point for point, gun for gun, and it just doesn't cut the mustard. In terms of Ghost Keels, this is a love-hate relationship that I have because actually there's a world where in Retcad they're the perfect bait, and I've tried and tested 3, 1, 2, and it's either 1, 3, or nothing. So I always
it's only 3 of the 4 options are okay.
But... Yeah. But I think we'll get onto obviously the changes, but I think there's a world where actually 3 Ghost Keels now, with the fact that you don't need to expose multiple guiders to try and make them actually do something, that could be an interesting thing. And I know that in the WTC world, there's been lists where there's 3 Ghost Keels with the fusion colliders for anti-tank, and it's going, I'm blowing up, lol, and now that's going to get better. So there is play for that, but for me, I'm just like, again, 160 points versus what it does, efficiency, no.
Definitely in this environment where you've got like 3 comfortable guides and the Pathfinders get 1 good shot at it, and then they're kind of gone. You don't have the economy to support like 2 squads or 2 or 3 Ghost Kills on top of that, right?
Exactly right. And then in terms of the Vespid, nice and simple. Just get good at scoring secondaries without a crutch, right? I'm sorry, but I look, they're really nice. You can uppy downy, we get it. Achieve secondaries really well. They're going to be pretty good in some of the new cards. The fact that some of the cards, I think it's recover assets that now come.
Recover assets all completes, yeah.
All complete.
There's also display of might now, which is a nice one to have, like an extra little fast unit that can be in the zone when you need it to be.
Hey, without Vespid, if I don't have more units in No Man's Land than my opponent with Retcad, what am I doing?
Like, look, man, you could be playing against Cheat Star Cult, right? Like that's always.
That's called a free CP for me. Thanks very much.
That's fair. I did miss Brute Swarm.
Yeah. So yeah, Vespid are good, and I'd say if you're maybe, and I hate saying it this way, but I can't really think of any clever way to rephrase it. If you're not as experienced actually as myself, then yes, please take Vespid. They're really, really good. But I genuinely think that they're not needed with the way that Retcad works, because half the time you can use a crisis suit to actually push out as fast as it can, shoot something, but also be blocking space of rapid ingress, and then you fire and fade away. So there's other ways of blocking out the board. And Vespid are kind of like autoing, I just do that, I don't have to think. But I like to play like a thinking man's 40k rather than just auto include this because it just does a thing. So I'm not saying Vespid are trash, I'm just saying it's not for me.
When you're playing a more aggressive game plan, those kinds of auto-score secondary units, they tend to be better in armies that don't want to expose pieces or play a slower game because you can use them a little more cautiously, right? Like in an army like Taoyun that doesn't want to play the game super early, they can give you that time, that screening without exposing your real assets because they don't guide. They're not a thing that you're burning. Whereas in this detachment, you don't need it because you're playing a much more aggressive midboard team anyway. Your secondaries should just kind of be happening, or you're happy trading them away for CP a lot of the time with Red Cadre, right? You're a very CP hungry detachment, and you're not playing ethereal or anything like that because you can't, right? So
yeah, I like the Vespid in the Kion detachment because you can rapid ingress, steal a primary, that kind of stuff. But in Retcad, I'd rather do it with the crisis.
Rapid ingress and crisis suits, right?
Like, yeah, right. I get primary, and then I yeet forward and shoot the hell out of you. Yeah, cool. Let's do that instead. So yeah, that's kind of my logic on not taking those pieces like Riptides, Ghost Skills, and obviously Vespid. And I think you hit the nail on the head by saying it. I'm taking pieces to really kind of like filter down that game plan of aggression and when needed. So hence why I've cut all the shit basically and just gone full on aggression.
Yeah, it's a very, very like raw version of the armor. I say raw. It's like very refined in the sense that you are playing nothing that isn't exactly the bare minimum scoring you need or the damage that you want, right? Like, there's nothing in here that's like, yeah, this is here because like it's kind of good in every matchup. It's like, no, I have 5 crisis squads. 3 of them will be good in every matchup, and 2 of them will be garbage, and that is fine. The 2 that are garbage, 6-inch deep strike and score primary, or they move block you, or they charge you to just hold you up, and that's fine. Yeah. That's all they've got to do. They don't have to get crazy.
I love it when Sunforge are useless because no one's taking any tanks, and then they're going, well, I've got 4 pinball, I'm in your face, and I've got 1.
You're just not getting a commander this game. I don't need one. Solo commander, solo Sunforge, deep strike charge, 2 shots at a 9. Let's try.
Yes, my Sunforge killed a cultist. Excellent.
Hey, you punch a scout to death. That's 6 object, 6 primary to 4, right? So
exactly right.
You can afford to lose 1 back because that's probably going to happen against blood. No, totally fair. All right. So, in that space, then, how was the event? How was the German Super Major? What went well? What went wrong? Obviously, you went 4-1. Very solid performance. Some really, really tight games in there, which is one of the reasons that we're shutting it out, because I think you had some really interesting ones. You got to be on the receiving end of the particular one of New Death Guard. And I think that was twice, right? Both of your closest games were against Death Guard.
No, I think it was close. It was Death Guard and I think.
Death Guard and Ultramarines, wasn't it?
Ultramarines, yeah. So the Death Guard. Well, overall the event was fantastic for me. It was a nice breath of fresh air because we were using GW, and obviously for those UKTC players out there,
all of the UKTC fans out there, all 4 of you.
Yeah, all 4 of us. Yeah. It was just nice to be on something different. So. And actually, it was really nice being in a different country, and obviously with the pleasure of being in the most gorgeous Premier Inn that I've ever seen. And
it was really nice, wasn't it?
It was really nice, yeah.
That spiral staircase was far fancier than we deserved.
I was like, are we in the Ritz here? What's going on? So, like, me, you, Nassim, and Matt Bell and Mark Tyne. It was really nice seeing friendly faces. And then the event itself was nice and spacious. It was well organised because it's a German event, right? Germans love their efficiencies. And it was really good seeing people come over and just share the general love for the channel and what we do as content creators. It was really nice. And then onto the event itself, I really liked how every game that I had was very competitive, because I think maybe our competition was like, oh, we need to show these English people how to play 40k or try and kind of like match up against. And I hate saying
they did a great job. It felt like every game was like seeing someone who knew what they were doing, right? And that's just one like an event of this size, right? It was 285 players, feeling like you were playing like your average games, and they were still, competitive even against the people that were, sort of the mid-tables people. It was great. I really enjoyed that part of it for myself. So game 1, you pair up against
Chaos Knights.
Chaos Knights.
So the typical War Dog spam, 13. I think you had 13 War Dogs. No trash, no nurglings. Very similar to my list.
It is literally 13 War Dogs, 6 brigands, 6 carnivores, one stalker. Like the eponymous. This is 13 War Dogs as defined by the first person that ever suffered to play this.
Pretty much. So nice and simple. I was like, keep them to the mid board and bait them out. And I think my opponent, as nice as he was, and the game where he realised too late that he just deployed far too back, far too defensively, trying to screen out. And they're going. After the game, I said to him, I was like, think about it this way. If you'd put all the War Dogs on the line and rush me, it's a game. I have to actually commit and try and down as many War Dogs as possible.
Yeah, you're not playing an army with a ton of like massive vehicle killing shots, right? You've got 4 broadsides of the Sunforge team and then nickel and dime damage, right? At some point that gets overloaded by 13 dogs. There is a chance that just doesn't work, right?
Yeah, and I said to him, like, there's also the fact that if, for example, you pushed everything and maybe kept a War Dog at the back, do I want a 6-inch deep strike or go and deep strike behind you when I've still got like 8 war dogs to deal with in front of me? I'm not going to have the time or the resources to spare being cute and come from behind.
Exactly. There's one objective in your deployment zone. There's 3 in the midfield. I'm going to fight over the midfield ones, right?
Yeah. So I think because he stayed back and was screening out very effectively, right? But I was like, okay, cool. I guess I'll just control the board. I win. And I think that's
classic, very effectively and efficiently losing in his deployment zone.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So I think that was just straight away. I was kind of nervous going into the game, thinking if he just deploys all those war dogs on the line, I don't want this stress in fucking round 1. So I'm glad he didn't. But yeah. Then moving on to round 2, I think I went into that was the Death Guard, right?
Went into a Death Lord's Chosen list with I think the full 3 Blight Launchers, 3/3/3 Death Shroud, and then a 10 of Blight Lord Terminators with the redeploy. How was this? What was this like to just like look at on the table? I just feel that's so many Terminators.
Yeah, I was looking at it. I think we were chatting before, and I was like, "Oh God!" And you were like, "Good luck," like Liam Neeson thing, like "Good luck." And I'm thinking, "Oh, okay." So I had to learn on the fly. I had to be like, right, what the hell does this do? It's not the typical index detachment or hammer, a Mortarian's hammer. I'm like, right, what's this around? Obviously, its power is Terminators, 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 more Terminators, 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 and some cheeky thing where they pick an objective and make you take mortals. I'm like going, all right, meh, ignore that. Let's just focus on the Terminators. So the key thing is, my one important unit that would get me out of this matchup was my Plasma Fire Knife team with my uppy downy Plasma dude. Mm-hmm. And my opponent was a lovely guy. I wouldn't say he's like the most competitive, like razor sharp, I'm here to win, but he loves Death Guard. It was painted beautifully. He's clearly like been hobbying it over many, many years. But he loves Terminators and knew how to use it. So we were talking about the things that I need to look out for and the things that he needs to look out from me. Now, he made an error, and one of these errors was in turn 1, he was going to push out this big 10-man Terminator, right? And I said, okay, do you remember when and obviously the language barrier is quite difficult as well. I don't know if you experienced it as well, because a lot of them have to speak English for us, and I don't speak German, so I'm like, I feel like kind of bad because I'm like, you need to speak English. I'm being a typical Brit here.
Yeah.
Like, silver spoon up my ass.
I were right as the travelers, right? They invited us.
So I said to her, I was like, remember this plasma unit, because you got 10 Terminators plus a character, it's 11. So I'll be doing sustain hits 2 on AP3 flat 3 damage with the plasmas with full rerolls to hit. So I will, on average, kill about 6 to 7, and I could spike. And he went, oh. And I was like, so don't do that. And he was like, is this okay? I went, yes. Remove it, put it back. I don't care. This is an investment, because I'm totally going to make an error somewhere where you're going to catch me out with contagion. And coming into the screening part of the game, I yeeted the crew forward, and I kept like one guy accidentally within like 5.9 of a unit, and he went, "Do you want to move that outside of 6?" And I was like, "Oh, contagion and rapid ingress," because they could rapid ingress then. Yeah. And I was like, yes, please. Thank you very much. He was like,
yeah, I'd like to not get murdered by Death Shroud.
Yeah. So that's what I mean in terms of like that, like give and take between.
Yeah, it's the social contract, right? By being adults with each other, you're able to make sure that you're both playing with the spirit of the game and not catching each other out, right? That's
So I feel that because I played that perfectly with realizing you can actually just screen out the Death Shroud, and as long as you're staying at contagion range, denying them the rapid ingress 6 was a way, and then keeping 15 inches between my units to stop the contagion stuff, and I just really bunkered down on holding my own expansion objective, making it sticky with crew, because I have 2 units of crew, and then just holding down the mid board. So the Death, and I kept attacking their expansion objective with Fire and Fade, which meant that it would deny him 2 3s, because I think it was Linchpin we're playing on.
Round 2, I think, was round 1 was part of the full. Yeah, round 2 I think was Lynch.
So I was basically going, okay, I'm going first, so I definitely have to deny him to 3s, otherwise he'll just get the extra points at the end. So I denied him to 2 3s whilst keeping my half of the board Death Guard free, and then that was the win condition. And it was, as you can see, it was a really tight game. I think it was 78.
Yeah, it was 11-9 on the scoreboard. I mean, this event was using the German scoring matrix, so it was a 10-10 in WZ money, but Germany, we were not using a draw bracket. So if this had been a classic Kyle Grundy 10-10.
Yeah, but army that's got all the rules.
Oh, for sure. Death Guard, very, very interesting army.
You know,
I was did the 10-man death, the Bloodlord ever connect to you?
It killed 2 crisis suits, with a missile enforcer squad, and Typhus chopped the head off the enforcer, and that unit was already going to deny primary and a one-way ticket to hell. So it didn't do anything because of the threat of the plasma fire knives. I just kept him there waiting for him to overextend, so therefore he couldn't. And he couldn't go anywhere. The Death Shroud just basically came in. We had a massive weird brawl in the middle at the end. It was like Farsight slapping a load of Contagion in dying and coming back up, killing some Sunforge, and then I slapped him again, and then some bloat drone tank shot Farsight. It was like a weird final end to the game with just this brawl in the middle of just suits and stuff. It was a bit weird, but that's where the action happened. It was on his expansion and in the middle, done. That was it.
So across the game so far, we've had the key unit in the first game was definitely the Sunforge against the Chaos Knights. Key unit in game 2, the Plasmas to keep that Terminator squad down, definitely showing that versatility and having those different options. We launch into the third game now. You are up against the Shadow Legion demons. What was the key unit here, and how did this go? Bellicor, Bloodthirster, Great and Clean One, all the good stuff. ACDC.
I'm gonna test you here, right? What unit do you think killed Bellicor?
If I had to guess, somehow it's going to be it's probably fire knives, right? Like it's almost missile fire knives.
No. Star Scythe bursts.
Star Scythe, I'll be upset.
Star Scythe bursts. What he basically did was he went first, and the plan with this is the weird hammer and anvil. It was a hammer and anvil, wasn't it? And it was the 3 objectives in the center, and then the other ones were like you could basically come on from.
You could see the middle. It was just in the open. I played against Orcs in this mission, and I just sat with my Ultraman's gun on. I was like, well, I'm going second, and you're never holding any of these, so I don't know how you're planning on winning the game.
So my plan was I put a unit of Kroot in Strat Reserve, because I wanted to rapid ingress the Kroot on my expansion objective to sticky it and then run away.
Sure.
But I never got to do that because he went first and then I was never
ran onto all the objectives.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter. The thought process was there in this, right? The strategy was there.
Right. Whether you were looking for it. All that matters is you were looking for
it. So he went first, and obviously he's got the uppy downy bloodthirst when it kills something. So I knew that was just going to be a constant thing, and I was always going to look to heroic intervene it. But back onto Bellicor, this is where the opponent made a big error, and it completely tilted him, but not in the sense where he was aggressive or anything like that. It just threw him off because he didn't expect it. And to be honest with you, neither did I. He made an error where he rolled a 1 on Bellicor. Now, Bellicor, obviously, as everyone knows, the order of blown up 18, so it's very crucial for this build because everything's going to sit in Bellicor's bubble and then run at you because he's even got an ACDC brick in there as well and Raptors and other shit. So he moved out Bellicor, rolled a 1 in advance and re-rolled it, rolled another 1, as always happens with a CP reroll, right? Just don't bother, just accept it. So he places him and goes in the central bubble, pushes the Great and Clean One out, and is ready for next turn. Now, I deployed my broadsides out in the open because I was like, I ain't got any shooting to worry about, so let's go. So he deployed Bellicor in within 23 inches, which means my broadsides just moved out. I got a round off of shooting onto Bellicor, only took him down to 12 wounds. But my Star Scythe, I went for a gamble and went, yeet forward. My commander will do lethals. Bellicor's on 12 wounds. The commander shot first, with reroll 1s to hit, 1s to wound. I rolled an obscene amount of lethals, like out of the burst cannons, and I was like, here's 10 lethals, and then all that kind of stuff. And took him down to 3 wounds, and then the crisis suits killed him, but I had a Kroot squad within 8 inches to grenade, because I thought I definitely need that, right?
Just to make sure, yeah.
And the Kroot were out seeing the Great Unclean One, but I was like, I've got a grenade. No, don't need it. I just one-popped Bellicor with the Star Scythe, and he went... And his mate came over at the time and was like, oh, how's it going? He just pointed at Bellicor and he was like, reserve? He was like, no, dead. So that kind of just tilted the game in my favour. Straight away, Bellicor gone. Then all of his pieces that were around Bellicor, I was able to pick off the Warp Talons and the Raptors, that kind of thing, because like suddenly they're not clearing my screens. Though, I tell you what though, I hate Screamers. Why are they 622?
I don't know. Why are they -1 to hit and 3 wounds each and like 2 points?
2 points, they might as well be. That was free. They're insane. I had a unit of 3 because I disrespected them. I was like, oh, you're in combat with my 2 broadsides. Nah, I'll be fine. I'm just going to shoot the Great and Clean One. I don't care about these guys suddenly losing a broadside and a half over 3 turns. I was like, all right, I've had enough now. Go away.
I've had enough games against them where my opponent uses the bring back a screamer stratagem. It's like heal a screamer, bring back a screamer. I'll just use that 6 times or 5 times this game. Is that
Yeah.
if I just do that, will I win? And the answer is like very frequently yes.
That's what, yes.
Oh, that unit's frustrating.
Yeah,
Definitely
so
when you're sitting there with no riptides to ignore their -1 to hit as well.
yeah. Yeah, so that game, because of that big aggression play turn 1, went into my favour.
Ended up being a bit of a blowout for that one, right?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And then round 4.
Round 4 was the Ultramarines Gladius.
Bastian, very good player. He was looking forward to playing me. He's good friends with Glisnir, and he was like, right, let's go. And I was like, yep, cool. I played Marines multiple times to know that we both have decent amount of firepower. It all depends on this mission. Who goes first loses, because it's Scorched.
Scorched Earth, yep.
And I went first.
Dumbass.
And I was like, God damn it, skill issue. Come on. Just anyway, so I was pulling moves out of my ass left, right, and center just to keep it close. And I did keep it close, but I was having to pull out moves that would just try and get me back in the game. A full missile fire knife shooting 5 JPIs should kill it, right?
No, AOC and Got mate.
No, nothing like that. He just insulted me. I was only AP1, didn't need to AOC. And then we were like rolling because we were very equal. Well, we had the same approach to game, very tactical lines and trades and stuff like that. So we kind of was taking a little bit more time than usual. And we both looked at each other and was like, right, okay, we need to speed this up. We're going to do it. We'll work together. I was like, yeah, no problem, man. No problem. So let's go. And I was like, just use my dice, man. He rolls my dice and 4 JPIs down. And then 1 left, then he auto passes it and gets primary. I was like, well, I needed to knock you down to a 5 there. That's annoying. And then I did a play to try and stop a Vindicator rapid ingressing and then go and taking me off my expansion. So I fire and faded a commander in the way. And I was like, as long as you don't draw Assassinate next turn, he draws Assassinate.
Of course he draws Assassinate. Why wouldn't he?
My God, come on. And then,
you never say the words, as long as he doesn't draw X, because they will draw X, right? That's just, we all know that.
Yeah, well,
it's like how if you invoke I'm going to play around Overwhelming Force here, and I'm not going to consult as an objective, you'll manifest Overwhelming Force on the top of their deck. That's just how this game works.
So yeah, that's already a 10-point swing because he's had a 5-point primary, a 10 primary when he should have been a 5, and then a 5-point for Assassinate, and then there was something else, and it was just every time I come up with a plan to get me out of this hole,
the game would be like, no, actually, that's not going to work here.
Yeah, no, Grundy, you're losing to Marines, accept it. No, Grundy, you're losing to Marines against.
As you deserve. Everyone should lose to Space Marines.
And then, yeah, so hats off to my opponent, played it very well, and I believe he ended up finishing 2nd or 3rd. I can't quite remember. So it was not a shame. Bastian.
Yeah, I think he did really well.
Really, really well.
Yeah, Bastian finished 3rd.
Yeah,
you lost to Caillou in the semi-finals. Or sorry, lost to Nicholas in the semi-finals.
Yeah, so that was a good game. Really tactical, really enjoyed it. And I don't mind losing when it's a really, really good game. I just hate losing against things that are like unwinnable, like the new meta filth or something. You're just like, oh, should I just rather just not?
The day I stand by this thing, the day I complain about losing an interesting game is the day I'll stop playing Warhammer, right? Because I've clearly become more invested in the wrong things. So,
yeah,
no, really good stuff. Really, really interesting round. Okay, and then we pulled into your final game, which was against. We had Nikolai, who was playing Grey Knights. Yeah, so he just felt like it.
Yeah, so I think we're talking to you after. I think this is the one time you were slightly, maybe somewhat proud of me for doing a maneuver that you were like, "Oh,
I'm always proud of you, Kyle, because you stick to your guns, like playing football." Wait, no, hold on.
This one was a really interesting one because Grey Knights, as we all know, this one's a really peculiar build. It's not peculiar. It's just not been seen in a while, which is just like 10 Paladin,
big freaking Paragon, Paladins, big freaking Terminators. Yeah.
Just I'm going to play around my mists and my sigil, and I'm going to annoy you, and then I'm going to trap stuff, and then I'm going to miss away, and then keep doing it, and Drago with a +3 charge. So
in this game, your fire knives were built for, right?
Yeah, exactly right. My fire knives are like, oh yeah, baby, you got 2 big bricks at 11. I'm going to smash face. This is a really complex. I don't want to take up too much time to explain it, but essentially what I did is that my opponent, rightfully so, analyzed the game really early and went, I cannot win this. My macro strategy will not work against you because you're faster, you've got way more guns, and I have to force you right now. I have to force the issue and make you commit and potentially bounce, and then it gives me a window in the game. Otherwise, I just lose. And I went, that is a correct assumption, yes. And I was like, but we still need to play the game, right? So let's go.
Yeah, I still have to execute properly, right? Never underestimate your ability for your opponent to screw up.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I'd obviously gone first in this. I'd screened out some certain stuff, and I prepared for the incoming attack. And he basically spotted this maneuver where he was going to charge with Drago into some Kroot, charge move in such a way where he takes me off a primary and then piles into Pathfinders to allow him to not only deny me, but then free miss away. So upon doing this, he rolls an 11, of course, so plus 3, so that's 14. So he manages to actually pile into the crisis suits, and Drago can see my cold style, so he just snipes that guy out. But before he does his piling, I'm like, hang on a minute, my time, heroic intervene with Pathfinders. And I just rolled a gentleman's 4. I was hoping for an average 7 to block up as many Terminators as I can, but I was like, an average 4, that's fine. And then I started to charge in such a way where I was being very careful with where the models were positioned, because I was going to intentionally break coherency when he slaps back. Because the Terminators, because I only rolled a 4, it would only kill like 4 or 5 Pathfinders, so then I was going to break coherency. So I did, and then got myself out of mists, and then went, okay, everything nuked that target, it's dead. And he was like, what?
Oh, so, I love breaking coherency. What a fun
big brain plays. Big brain plays. But when we were talking afterwards, it was like, I only realized these moves when he went all in. So it was like, take a moment, think about it. What are my options? Well, this is going to happen anyway, so I might as well make it happen on my terms to allow me to then shoot this 10 Terminators. So that's what I came up with at that point. Whereas I don't think anybody naturally thinks about breaking coherency, but it's always an option.
Hold on. Speak for yourself.
Okay,
as a Gene Circle player, I would lose every game I played if I didn't do that.
Let me rephrase. Necron's GSC will always think about breaking coherency.
There you go. That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. As long as you put that caveat, I'm all good. Yep.
Yeah. So for me, like, as a Tau player doing that, they were like, what the hell is going on? But it was my win condition. It was my win/loss condition if I didn't do this. So yeah, I went for it. And that ended the game in a positive, because then from there I just mopped up shop.
No, absolutely, man. It's an awesome play to look for, right? You feel so clever when you pull it off as well, and that's my favorite part. I want to feel clever when I play Warhammer.
Yeah.
So overall, how were your feelings on your list going to the event? Did you feel like your preparation was adequate? Did you feel like the choices you made worked out?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the prep's just me constantly playing Tau anyway. But the list has been a solid list anyway, so it wasn't a new thing that I created for this event. It was like a good old reliable list that never failed me, so I kept it going. The only time I'd ever change it is if the meta changes around me.
For sure. So let's talk about the meta changing around you, because we've got one of the Tau experts on the show. Let's talk. Tau have gotten a fairly significant change coming to the new battle stage. Like, where does that? I don't want you to give me all your secrets, but what does that make you want to do with the army? Like, what detachments become more interesting? What data sheets become more interesting? And if people want to hear even more about it, they can go and check out Pure Tide.
Yeah.
You can find even more from you. But give me the highlights. Give me your 10-minute sell on why I should play Tau.
Well, it gives me 20 minutes back on the clock, which is always nice. It means I can actually play a full game of 40k now, yeah?
That's guided. Go now?
Yeah, go now.
So this is going to go...
Yeah. So it opens up list building completely, like 100%. Straight away, I looked at it and was like, how many points can I save? How many guiding units can be uninteractive, like the Firesight Marksman team, the lone op dude? Perfect. If I just take 3 of those and call it a day, I'm not advising everyone just to do that, but if I took 3 of those uninteractable guiders...
Can I just do that now, right, is the question you should be asking.
Yeah. Can I just do that?
No, but it's an interesting question to start with, right?
240 points. Okay, well, before I was spending a lot more. And then, oh, look, I can just put in way more stuff, way more damage dealers. So when people are looking at the Kion nerf, oh, it's sustain its 1 now, just put in more damage, which is equal in sustain its 2 anyway. So, and the fact that the guiding units now, especially Pathfinders, oh my God, are they amazing. They are self-sufficient because they self-guide, not self-harm, self-guide. So before it used to be just send them forward and they die. Now they can actually just get...
Now you actually hit on 4, still 4s, but you
three,
still hit with the rail rifles.
Yeah, 4s with ions, but there's a weird little combo that you can do in Kion where you can use the coordinate to engage strat and it can be on BS2. Because the way the ballistic skill modifiers are work, as long as you don't hit on 1s, you're fine. So Pathfinders go, cool, let's go. I'm hit on 2s. What?
Hunters, yeah.
So genuinely, it gives us a lot of time back. It makes the whole guiding thing really, really simple, and it opens up really nice new builds, especially, for example, let's talk Ret Cadre. Your commanders now being able to split fire, that's good. Like 100%, you can suddenly no longer go, oh, well, I suppose my commander has killed the unit, my crisis suits don't do anything. Now you can actually split fire again like we used to in the past, where we were one of the only armies that was effective at split firing, and then we went from doing that to not being able to split fire. Now we can. Indirect's good as well because they got rid of all those like weird things where the guy, the observer, and the unit that's being guided has to see. This gone now, so indirect SMS with ignore cover and +1 main hit on 4s, ignoring covers suddenly potent. Like I would take up too much time on this show just to talk about different lists, but what I would say if I was to look at detachments, the new experimental prototype, which is great for beginners. Because it's just an easy +6-inch, and you got like go buttons with stratagems,
damage stratagems, and
damage stratagems. Right? Let's go, and the fact that the guiding mechanic is simple, that is a great way to get into Tau. It feels Tau. It's great. It's easy to use. Got some decent.
It's got that really good that really good indirect guy now.
Yeah, indirect guy
with projectors back.
And then the Cold Star with the special fusion can now split fire and just be like, boss, let's go.
Yeah, you can stick him in the squad that gives him reroll hits and put him in a fire knife squad and then actually have the fire knife fire at something and him fire at something else.
Yeah, it's really, really good. And then you got Ghost Kills that can like be -1 to wound and heal and blah, 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 blah. So you got it all. So great for new, great to switch off brain, play Tau, shoot good, kill, done, move on. Retcad is just going to get more powerful because of the ability to split fire. And I think a lot of highly skilled generals or WTC teams are thinking about Retaliation Cadre as well. So I think, again, it's like a really high skill cap, but can be really, really brutal. Montcar is going to come back in a fashion because they still have the most impressive stratagem suite with like the full rerolls to hit and the auto advance 6 and the extra AP. You've got it all. And
it's the best applying like immediate pressure, right?
Immediate pressure.
Like, if you don't pull it off, it'll start looking really sad on turn 3 and 4.
Yeah.
But those early turns on Montcar are the hardest hitting of any of them.
Oh yeah, 100%. And who scores challenger cards? Well, you can't when you're dead, right? So
exactly. Dead models don't have OC.
Yeah. Let's just go. Just like, oh, I'll never get to use the challenger cards. Well, don't care. Neither do my opponent because he's dead. So I've been playing around with Montcar. And I'm actually going to a teams event this weekend with Montcar. Sadly, it won't be using the new cards because it didn't hit the time frame, but it'll be using the new slate. So I'm running Montcar. Speed is king and bash, 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 attacker roll. Kion, like honestly, I think Kion's still good. I think it needed the nerf to be sustaining its 1 because it was currently sitting at 55%. So
if you're buffing Tau, it's hard to take an army that was doing well enough already and not give it.
Yeah.
Put it back into that environment of being like, okay, it's more equitable with the other ones now, even if it is less interesting than it used to be.
Yeah, and I think the one worry for me was if Kion wasn't nerfed, Kion would be the problem for Tau in the next run because it would be like, oh, but Tau's at 60-odd%. Or Kion's ruined it for everybody, and then everybody gets nerfed, whereas it's just Kion. So they brought the problem child in a little bit for the greater good to save Tau.
I have one question for you, God. I want to go before Kion. If they hadn't changed it, how good would the Tiger Shark have been?
Cracked. Like 100% insane. It would have been, how about I just take flyers and just go.
I'll just split fire the Tiger Shark at 3 targets, all of which are sustained 2, with my 3 different weird gun profiles. Just like that's dead, also that's dead. Those 10 guys too. You don't need them anymore.
Just that dead as well. Yeah, cool. It would have been insane. You have all the answer to combat armies because you've got -2 to charge everywhere. You've got Daka. You've got split fire. It just goes crazy. So yes, and I had like a vehicle build that I was just about ready to run, and then the slate happened, and it still works. But the whole point is like it would have been insane. It would have just been me as a Tau content creator. I'd been like, guys, just
you'd have been really worried because Nassim would be playing it again, and anytime Nassim's playing Tau, the game is in a bad state.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And I've literally been to around to everyone and be like, sorry guys, just play Kion. It's just better. So the nerf is needed. And I know, obviously, there's a lot of upset people with the Kion nerf. And the ignoring mods is situationally good for things that don't ignore modifiers like Sky Rays, Ghost Keels, that kind of stuff. But we already have access to lots of upgrades with units like Broadsides, Riptides that have it innately. And we know we're not going to, I've already done a video on it, but all the things that are currently an issue with the way that the rules are written is currently being looked at by the FAQ team as we speak. So all those little things that are worrying people.
Yeah, it'll get smoothed over. Don't sweat it.
It'll get smoothed over, 100%.
For this couple of weeks, yeah, you might have a couple of conversations about it, but be adults about this thing, right? It's obviously
exactly right.
We expect it to in the long term.
Yeah, and like we've been given a big gift, and the gift is just play the army simpler, which is exactly what.
Also, some not insignificant points drops for a couple data sheets as well, right?
No,
there was the rampage not go down. Am I going mad?
No, it was just the only thing that went up was the 20-man
went up 20.
And the 20-man crew unit specifically.
Good. If I have to pay 145 for 20 DF fights, you can pay a little more for crew. Everyone else's 20 mans are going up because mine went up. That's
10 more points. But the funniest thing is, let's address the elephant in the room. People are crying at the 20-point tax on stealth suits, right? I'm no math genius, but 3 units of stealth suits with 180 points prior to the slate. Now they're 240 for 9. Do you know what you could do? A unit of 6 is 120 points. So just take 12 instead of 9 and have 2 units of 6 stealth suits. Or take a unit of 6 and a unit of 3, still giving you 9, and it's 200 points.
Or just play 3x3 and give your army... What is it they give? 3 units, you get mini Oath of Moment with reroll 1s and ignore cover and +1 PS. It feels like it's probably okay for 80 points, right? Yeah. And it's not like being honest with me, Kyle. How often do your stealth teams? How often does your opponent have time to kill the one stealth suit poking out of a wall? Almost never, right? Like you're gonna dedicate. Like they have stealth and they're in cover and they're 3 up safe. You're gonna shoot your Vindicator at them. That might get them. You're gonna shoot that at them instead of the stuff that they're guiding. That seems counterproductive.
It does, but some people are just like, I don't want those stealth to live kill, and you're like, thanks. But you know what doesn't kill? Some stealth suits. A Vindicator, if you take a 6-man, even with blast, it doesn't kill him.
All right, Kyle. You're clearly been in the kitchen far too long with these Tau. All right. I think we're going to leave it there. If you want to hear even more from Kyle about the Tau stuff, go and check out Pure Tau Program. The links are behind his picture. I'll make sure they're in the description as well. So if you want to hear even more from Kyle, you can check that out. Thank you to the Mind Goblins guys for continuing to come on the show for us once a month. We'll be back in July with another Mind Goblins person. In August, I'm gonna try to see if any of the Mind Goblins guys are at WC, and I'll steal one of them for that. So we'll be keeping an eye on that going forward. Maybe I'll get Matt Bell on because he's coaching for England. So yeah, we'll be checking back in with Mind Goblins around about the start of next month again. Kyle, run your plugs off. Just make sure everyone's got the links to it, and then I'll try to put in the description, as I said.
Yeah, so we'll put them in the description link. So best way to start to kind of like get familiarized with my stuff is just go over to YouTube, Pure Tau Program, and give us obviously a standard follow, subscription, and like. And if you want to know more, I run a Discord, which you can only gain access to through the links in a website called WOP. You've got a free community, which you can just join, no charge, come and enjoy the community, get involved. And if you really want to kind of up your game in terms of coaching, or should we say improving your skills, whether it be on deployment, list building, you've got some different tiers. Pathfinder is your entry-level tier, so it's ideal for beginners or people just want to try out the service. You'll have access to over 30 hours plus of deployment videos. We do a group call once a month on demonstration day. We'll choose a topic and I'll demonstrate it. And then the mid-tier, which is the Shaspray, is list building calls every 2 weeks. You got a Q&A with me, and all my calls are live, so you can ask me questions and interact with me, directly rather than just through online videos. And then obviously you've got the highest tier, which is designed for really competitive players that are wanting to improve the performance from like an X and 1 or maybe go to 5-0. And we analyze the meta. We analyze stat check meta because it's just accurate and awesome. So we look at that. And then we also go into detail when it comes to a war council call that we do, where we talk amongst each other as a circle of commanders, share our kind of strengths, weaknesses, things that we're struggling with. So that is kind of what if you're looking to improve your game, that's the package for you. All the description links will be in there on. Thank you, Venice, for sharing that. And generally just, for the great good, it's all going to be good. And chin up and let's start busy blasting.
There you go. Scrolling on the bottom now, you can see
Awesome,
it
man.
right there on the show. Thank you so much, Kyle, for being with us. If you want to hear more from StatCheck, that's youtube.com/StatCheck. If you'd like to support us a little bit more, all the usual like, comment, subscribe. And for access to even more of this StatCheck content, that's patreon.com/StatCheck or the YouTube membership program in the description below. $5 a month gets you access to our Discord community where you can chat with us, play in the TTS leaks, and all that good stuff. But otherwise, we'll be back for some more bonus content next week. I hope everybody's had a good time. Have a great evening.
Cheers, guys.
And then I need to find the buttons for the outro video. There we go.